Yo, what's up everybody? It's Manga Mike here and we're back with yet another video. So in today's video we're going to be talking about 5 tips for better dialogue in your manga. Let's get started. Alright, before we get started again, I wanted to make a shout out to Young Wavy the artist. Thank you so much for asking for this video. This is something that I'm still working on, dialogue, so hopefully these tips feel helpful for you in particular, Young Wavy, but hopefully for everybody else as well. So, number 1, all of your dialogue should be moving the plot forward. So if you're having trouble with stuff that engages your audience, you need to be asking yourself, am I writing fluff? Am I doing a whole bunch of greetings? Things like that shouldn't necessarily be there unless, like, if you have a specific greeting that is showing that two of your characters have a really, really intense bond, like they have like a really long handshake or something like that, right? That's fine. Or if like the greeting is showing like one character is a subordinate to another or something like that, some kind of power dynamic, that would be good too. But think about your dialogue in this way. It should have a reveal, an emotion, a reaction, a conflict, or some kind of humor within it, right? If it's not doing one of these things or something else that feels like it's actually moving your plot, then it's probably not necessary within your comic, and you should kind of take a step back and see, like, what am I trying to accomplish in having this piece of dialogue? The example that I have here on the side is actually from Hunter x Hunter, and this is an explanation, of the 6 categories within the magic system of Hunter x Hunter, right? And in order to move the plot forward and show people like this is what the plot's actually going to be about from now on, sometimes an explanation like this is necessary. Now I'm going to show you another example later on with another point that is not good, so we'll get there in a little bit. Number 2, clarifying personality. So each one of your characters should have a specific way in which they talk. So this has to go along with some of your world building and some of your story building. Like, each one of your characters needs to be fully developed. If you're struggling to understand your character's personality, then when you go to write that character, everyone's going to kind of sound the same and everyone's going to actually kind of sound like you, right? For instance, if you identify as a female and you are writing a character and you're trying to write a male, but you're using your own language and you're reacting to things the way that you would react, it's probably not going to come off quite the way that you want it to. And you know, that's the opposite way. Or if you are a person that is trying to create dialogue for somebody that is maybe like non-gender conforming or something like that, you want to do a little bit of research to see like you know, what could be said, like how they might feel about certain circumstances, how they might react. You know, everybody's going to react in different ways, different races of individuals, people from different cultures. All those things should be in your head, and within your story you should have a grasp on that, right? You're kind of like your comics, like you know, you're the writer, the creator, so you're kind of like the god of your story, right? You have to be able to instill different things within your story and different personalities within your story in order for it to come across okay. So this page that I used, I think this is a one, it does a great job of kind of simplifying what could be happening, which is I think my next point, but it shows very, very quickly within 2 pages. It solidifies the character of Vegeta and the character of Goku within these 2 pages. Vegeta's the kind of character that he gets desperate, and now he's going to go to a last resort, which could be blowing up the entire planet, right? With him on it. He doesn't care, right? And now you also get in the opposite Goku, and you see something solidifying in his character, right? Oh my gosh, I have to figure out a way to stop this. Like, what am I going to do? So the desperation. That's clarifying the personalities of these 2 characters within this particular couple of pages. So it's something to think about, right? Making sure your characters are consistent, making sure they are full, developed, all those things. Do your research, figuring out what all that stuff looks like within your comic and how they react to one another. All that stuff is super important. You should try to think about that as you go through. Number 3, let your humor flow, right? So this one, you don't really see the dialogue in this example, but overall, my purpose in bringing this point up is don't be scared to make things funny to you within your comic. Don't try to make things funny to a larger audience, because you have your own humor and other people probably have your humor too, and it's okay if not everybody like laughs at the jokes that you put within your comic or anything like that. You just make whoever could be reading or whoever you feel you can engage with that joke, just allow them to laugh, and that's okay. I think that this is actually like a really big gem within Bleach. This joke was so inappropriate for this particular audience, but I thought it was so funny. So if you don't, you don't take the risk and you try to do things that you think people might think are funny, then you're not like abiding by your own way of writing, and that kind of sucks because you want to be able to write it the way you want to write it. And 2, like, you're probably not going to even make the audience that you think you're relating to laugh either, because you're kind of faking funny, right? So just be you, do what you have to do with that stuff. So yeah, this is the point of simplifying. I think anybody who, even beginners, could look at this page that I have right here and say, like, this is a bad page. Nobody wants to read all this. I understand that all this information was probably really important, and usually like Hunter x Hunter has like really good dialogue and really just good scenes in general, but look, this is awful. You don't want to do this in your comic. If you have so much exposition that it's going to take up an entirety of a whole page and basically you only draw a panel and a half, you're doing something wrong. Just because nobody's going to want to read all of that, unfortunately. Even if you do think it's super important, there's going to be other ways to kind of show this instead of just kind of like word vomiting all out on one page, right? So that's something you want to keep in mind. Nobody's really going to find this kind of page interesting. So you want to find the simplest ways to get your points across, the simplest ways to show a reaction or reveal what have you, the simplest ways that particular character's personality can get something across. Now, sometimes you might have a character that is over like complicates everything, right? And that's kind of their personality. That's okay, right? Because you're still moving the story plot along by having that character's personality be shown, right? So that's something to think about. And then my last point. This is probably the most important thing on this list. Read it with a friend, read it out loud to a friend, to a family member, whoever would be willing to listen, right? And the reason why this is important is because sometimes when we're writing, we think things are going to connect very well and it's just going to flow through. But when you're reading it out loud to somebody, one, you yourself are going to probably start to trip up on things and you'll be like, oh my gosh, what was I trying to say here, right? And 2, the person that you're either reading it with or reading it to is also going to be like, I don't get what you're trying to do here. I don't get what you're trying to make me feel, all those things. So hopefully this list felt helpful for you. This is something, like I said, that I'm working on a lot. I'm probably going to do a video soon, kind of showing my one-shot that I created, because some of this stuff within my one-shot also was kind of like a little bit lacking as far as my dialogue is concerned. And I did try my best. I kind of referred to this list, but sometimes, it just takes trial and error. So I'll make sure to kind of do that video as soon as I can. But again, hopefully this was really helpful for you. I really appreciate you sticking all the way into the end. If there's any other videos that you'd like to see, just comment down below. I'll get to them as soon as I can. And, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Again, I appreciate you sticking all the way to the end. I'm Manga Mike, and I'm out.